Alright, let's learn about the Chavacano alphabet. So, el Alfabeto Chavacano, and this is something that we'll go through in every row, column, or whatever. You can count how many letters there are, the vowels, etc. We'll just go through it and stuff like that just because there's so many Chavacano speakers also that don't know how to pronounce their letters. They don't know how to pronounce their or consonants and vowels or whatever, right? So we're just going to go through it. And again, this video is for you foreign people or for you non-Chavacano speakers to learn Chavacano or to get an understanding of this language. I'm not here to necessarily teach it. I'm here to explain it because people don't know how to explain a lot of things. Especially some Chavacano speakers, they don't even know how to pronounce things. So let this be an eye-opener. And by the way, I am not a Chavacano speaker. I just kind of stumbled upon this because I know what's supposed to be said and what's not. But anyway, we'll go through each one of those, right? So the first letter we have is letra A, right? Letra A, and it makes the A sound. It's the same vowel sound that you'll find in indigenous Philippine languages, right? And in Spanish as well, A. The next one is B, letra B. Now, B has to have the B sound, the B, the strong B. It's strong B sound, letra B. Okay, so letra A, letra B, letra C is a third one, C. Now it has that S sound, right? Like the sibilant S, the sibilant S sound, C. Okay, C. Whereas in Spanish it's letra C. C, it has an interdental fricative, but here in Chavacano it's a sibilant S, C. And it's going to be pronounced as a C, depending on the vowels that it follows, or it can be pronounced as a K, depending on the vowel that it follows, or the vowel that follows it, I should say. This next one, this fourth letter is kind of weird because it's letra Che, and Che has this sh sound, ch, right? Sh. But since Che is an amalgamation of two letters, that first letter is always going to be capitalized. You will never see the second letter capitalized unless the entire word is in caps or written in capitalization. Then that's the time you'll see it. So we have the capital form and we have the lowercase form or the minuscule form, right? And that's the same with every double letter that we have in Chavacano. The first letter is always capitalized, followed by the second letter in its lowercase or minuscule form. Again, you'll never see both of them capitalized unless the entire word is capitalized. The next one is letra D, right? D, D. It has that strong D sound. Then we have letra E is next. E. It's a short and crispy like the A. So we have A and E. Short, very short and crispy. Not A, but E, right? E. You have to cut it off. E. This one is a letra He. Now this one has a lot of explaining. Actually, the next few ones also do. But letra He. He is pronounced with this H sound, H, right? This pharyngeal H. Now, He came from Spanish, He. The letra He from Spanish came into Chavacano as letra He. Why? Because Chavacano speakers cannot make that H, that guttural, that pharyngeal guttural H sound, right? He. They can't make it. So instead, they approximated that sound to a pharyngeal H sound. H. He. And letra He has two sounds depending on, like letra C, depending on which vowels follow it. So if it's a G, E, or G, I, it's going to make a H sound, whereas everything else is going to make a G sound, okay, a G. So that's letra He. And again, Chavacano, it never exists to have the H sound. It's always H, right? H. And this is, again, influence from regional languages and local languages, and also the speakers of second language speakers of Chavacano. The next letter is letra H, and H has two sounds. Like letra He, H has two sounds. The first sound it makes is nothing. It's a silent letter. That's just a characteristic that came from Spanish when H was borrowed from Spanish. It never had any sounds with it. So every time H is written with words, it's never pronounced. However, because Chavacano also borrowed in words from indigenous languages and also from other foreign languages, that H will make a sound. It'll make the H sound, same as He. It has the same H h sound, that same pharyngeal sound. So words like iho, where ache is silent, but there are also words like harana, which is where ache is present, right? So you'll hear it silent and you'll hear it present depending on where the word originated. All right. So again, words of Spanish origin will never be pronounced with an H, but words of foreign origin or local languages will have that h sound. And that's something you have to learn by heart when you're learning Chavacano. The next vowel we have is E, letra E, right? So A, E, I. E is the third vowel. Very easy. And this next consonant is Jota, Jota. Now, just like he, in Spanish, Jota was pronounced as Jota, Jota. It has that guttural, that strong guttural pharyngeal sound. But just like he, the speakers of Chavacano couldn't make that h sound, so they have to approximate it with the pharyngeal h sound. So instead of saying Jota, they say Jota, Jota with that h sound, right? And unlike ache, whenever Jota is written everywhere in Chavacano, it is making the h sound. It makes that h sound. So even though Jota appears on a word, the letra Jota appears on any word, you have to pronounce it as a h, right? And now, Jota never makes the j sound. Like in English, it's never the j sound. Or in other languages like Malay, no. This is h, not j, but h. Okay? Because in Chavacano, the j sound is not existent. Like, it doesn't exist in Chavacano. So, Chavacano speakers don't know how to make the j sound in the Chavacano language. But they can make the j sound in other languages, just not in Chavacano, unless the word was borrowed into Chavacano. So keep that in mind because Jota is an important letter when it comes to the h sound, not the j sound, okay? Okay, finally the second column, we have ka, and ka came from Spanish, which Spanish actually also borrowed from another language, ka, I think it's Greek, in order to express words with a k sound, but are of foreign origin, yeah, so foreign words with a k sound that have that origin in it was taken into the Spanish alphabet, and Chavacano adopted it. Similarly, the che, it's kind of weird because che right here, in modern Spanish, this che doesn't exist. So Chavacano preserved this letter, the che. But in this letter, ka actually exists in modern Spanish as well. So it gets pronounced as a k. Whenever you see words with this letter will always be pronounced as a k, right? Constantly k. Next letter is L, right, which is just like the letter L in English, or the letter L in many other local Philippine languages, regional languages that have the L sound, right? L, letra L. Letra L, sorry. And the next letter after that is Elye, letra Elye. Now, just like che, this is a double letter as well. So again, the first consonant or the first letter of the cluster is going to be capitalized, whereas the second letter is not. So this is the capital form and this is the lowercase form. The only time again it'll be capitalized if everything is capitalized. But Elye, letra Elye makes the li sound, L-I or L-Y, li sound. Moving on, we have emme, right? Emme, enne, which is enne right here, easy. And next is another easy one, enye, right? Enye, which is the nye sound. So if you put an N-I or an N-Y together, it makes the nye sound. So that's easy. Now this one is a borrowed letter from regional languages. Nga, letra nga. So letra eme, ene, enye, nga. Okay, this is again nga. It makes that velar nasal sound. Ng. But the again, just like che and just like Elliot, nga is two letters together. It's a double letter. So that first letter is going to be capitalized while the second one is not. And again, here's its lowercase form. So that velar nasal sound. Then we get to our fourth vowel. The fourth vowel is o, letra o, right? A, e, I, o. Easy. Pe is next, pe, which is your typical letter P from many languages, p, right? Ku is the next one we have, ku. Now, ku is an interesting letter because it came from Spanish. And again, because it came from Spanish, Chavacano adopted it. And in Chavacano, just like Spanish, you will never see this Q by itself. It will always be spelled with a U at the next to it. So you will always see it as Ku and U together, Q and U together, right? Ku and U. But it's always pronounced as a ku, okay? It's pronounced as ku or k. Sorry, it's not. The letter is pronounced as ku, letra ku, but in Chavacano it has a k. Same with this. Same with this letter right here, k, and sometimes this letter k. Okay, it just depends for this letter, but this one has a k sound to it. Whoops, there you go. It has a cut sound to it, so keep that in mind. And it's always going to be spelled with a U next to it. You will never see the Q by itself unless the word was borrowed from another language. Because in Chavacano, just like Spanish, this Q never stands alone. It's always with a U. And finally, we have the third and last column, which is here we have letra R, right? R. It's just a tap, like your alveolar tap sound. Da, ere, de, right? It's just like a tap. But the next letter, which is a double form of this, which I forgot to double, actually. It's just two R's, not one R. This is one R. This is supposed to be two R's like this one. But, whoops. But, again, this is... R, right? So we have R and R. We have a tap and a trill. So there's a R, 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 right? If you hear the difference between the tap and the trill, it's a R for the trill. The trill, that R has to be trilled, it has to be rolled, it is never retroflexed. So this R, right, it's always going to be pronounced as R if it's doubled. And again, just like other double consonants, this first letter gets capitalized while the second one isn't, okay? One thing I do want to talk about these two R's, the single and the double, like R and R, the doble R, is that Chavacano speakers mispronounce this R. They will pronounce it as an American sound, sound, okay? And that's not correct, because in Chavacano that sound doesn't exist. The sound never exists, and it doesn't exist in Spanish either. So Chavacano speakers have that habit of using the English the American English R into this when it's not, okay? This is the sound is not the same rhotic sound as a r sound, okay? So you need to trill those R's. You don't retroflex it, you trill it, right? You never it. The next word we have is esse. So esse is just that same S, right? Now this S, la letra S, is not the same as in Spanish, where in Spanish it's not s but a sh, right? So there's two different kind of sibilant sounds. You have a sh sound in Spanish, whereas in Chavacano it's a s sound. This S is the same as the sound in English and in other Philippine languages as well. So you'll hear that because Chavacano speakers, when Chavacano evolved out of Spanish, or when it was evolving, it took that approximated sh sound to a s sound, right? The next one we have letra T, right? T, ta, 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 right? And that's an easy, it's just your regular T sound, right? S, T. And the final vowel we have here is U, right? A, E, I, O, U. U, letra U, and it's just spelled like that. This is always going to follow that letra Q, right? Q and U. So it makes that U sound. Next we have B, right? B, or ube, right? This letter has so many ways of being pronounced. How I learned it was ube or be, right? Ube or be, and it has the b sound, ube or be. It has that but sound, so this V, the letter B, is the same as this letter B, okay? They have the same sound. So B, or ube. I say ube because I use it to differentiate from letra B to letra ube, but a lot of people will say letra ube or letra B, whatever, right? Now this V will never make a V sound, right? In English, it can make a V. For languages like English and French and Russian, it'll make that V sound. But in Spanish and Chavacano, this BV doesn't make that sound. It makes a B sound. B. All right? So in Chavacano, just like right here, right? El alfabeto Chavacano. It never mixes the Chavacano, but Chavacano. Okay, right? Because that V sound in Chavacano, the V doesn't exist. It's a B. So Chavacano speakers make that mistake too, is that when they see this letter V, they pronounce it like an English V, the English V sound, which is wrong because, again, that V sound doesn't exist in Chavacano. Next we have is a W, right? W is just double of the two V's, W, and it's just the W sound. Third to last, we have X, which is the letter X, right? Letra X, and X has two sounds. It can make the X sound, right? The X, KS together, which is X, and that depends again on the word and the position of X. Or it can have this H sound, the same as the He, H, and Jota. It has that H sound. Now, before in Spanish, right? X, when it was pronounced as a H, it was pronounced as a Ch, right? Ch. Rojas, like in the word Rojas, Mexico, right? It has that Ch sound. But again, because Chavacano speakers didn't know how to make the guttural Ch sound, they approximated with the H, the H, pharyngeal H sound, right? So it can make the H or X sound depending again on the position it is on a word. Second to last is the letra Y. So letra X, Y. And Y has a Y sound, a Y or an E sound depending. So it has kind of like a vowelish kind of sound, right? The same with this W, it has a Y sound here, Y, or an E, right? Or an E sound. If it's alone, it makes the E sound. But this Y makes the Y sound, like the Y, or an E sound. Again, depending on the word. And finally, we have letra zeta. Okay, zeta is just this Z, right, in Chavacano, zeta. Now, in Spanish, this is pronounced as theta with the interdental fricative theta. But in Chavacano, it's a s. It makes that sibilant S sound. It's the same sound that you will find with this ese, and it's the same sound that you'll find with this se, with that s, letra C, letra S, letra Z. All of them have that same sibilant S sound, right? And again, this is where Chavacano speakers fail, is that whenever they see the Z, they pronounce it like in English z, which is not correct. It's wrong because in Chavacano, that z sound, the English Z sound doesn't exist. And this came from Spanish, because in Spanish that Z sound never exists either. So whenever you see the Z, it's going to be pronounced as an S, right? So the Z and the S, the S, and the S have the same sound. Always the same sound. Okay, so that Z and the S will always have that same uniform S sound. Unless this Z came from, there was a borrowed word that came from English or some other language that actually has a different pronunciation of zeta, which is like in English, the letter Z for zero, right? Z, then yes, you can pronounce it as Z. But in Chavacano, no, this is pronounced as S, okay? Zeta. And that's something I just wanted to talk to y'all about with the Chavacano alphabet and clearing up some ambiguities with the letters and their pronunciations.